Hey everybody, Derek here for the weekly news recap for the 29th of September, of August? Fuck, I check every time. 29th of August to the 4th of September 2022. So we get into it. Not too much happening, honestly, this week. What we do have, though, is a new announcement from the Voice of Cards series. So we've shown the Voice of Cards series on the channel before. This is a jRPG series from Square Enix and from Yoko Taro, who is probably best known for the Nier series, Nier Automata, Nier Replicant. Very good storyteller. This game is essentially a jRPG that's presented as a card game, so it's as if you are playing a kind of tabletop RPG or a tabletop card game, and there's a storyteller telling you a story and they're using cards to illustrate it. Combat is also done through cards and so on. It's a very interesting presentation, and I have liked the last two games in the series, The Isle Dragon Roars and The Forsaken Maiden. So this new one, The Beasts of Burden, is continuing the series, and they're changing it up a little bit again. So the first game, The Isle Dragon Roars, was sort of just giving you the idea of the game. Like, it's a JRPG, turn-based combat thing, but cards. The second game, they had team-up attacks, so it was a bit more like Chrono Trigger, and where you could like stall your action so that the two of you could team up later on. This new one, The Beast of Burden, seems to be adding in the kind of Pokemon element of bringing monsters onto your team and using them in combat in that kind of sense. We don't really know what the story is at the moment. The story so far is monsters versus men, back and forth, a bit Undertale, a bit a particular story in Nier Replicant, but the story has always been very good on the Voice of Cards series and from Yoko Taro in particular, so this should be interesting too, and it's actually out pretty soon. It's out next week or the week after, so you know, it'll be on the channel soon enough, I guess. Xbox has launched a new type of Game Pass. It's launched in Ireland and Colombia. Just for whatever reason, they decided to pick those two random countries. I imagine Ireland because it's the closest English-speaking European EU country that isn't the UK anymore, so that probably makes sense. In that case, Colombia, don't know. Not from the area, not sure why they chose Colombia. So the idea is it's the Xbox Game Pass friends and family thing, so you might be familiar with this with like Spotify has a family package. Netflix has a family package and so on. So the idea is there are 5 accounts can all use the same Game Pass effectively. There's some stipulations that they all have to be in the same area, they all have to be within the same region, something, and it's a little bit extra money, but you know, 5 people can avail of the Game Pass, or 5 accounts, shall we say, can avail of the Game Pass. I think it's also limited to 5 particular devices as well, can only be active too, so your PC, your Xbox, and then I guess your friends and family's PC and Xbox, and then you've got one left over for like the TV or something. I don't know. It's only being trialed, so it's trialed in my country, Ireland, currently, and also in Colombia. But I presumably, once they've kind of ironed out any of the kind of weird loopholes and what have you, I'm sure they will open that up to the rest of the world soon enough. So Kickstarter I mentioned last week. It was a double Kickstarter for Armed Fantasia and Penny Blood. So go into... Okay, so we're not using the YouTube, so I don't have access to the shortcuts. So this trailer is just kind of showing off the kind of premise, and it's a funny little it's a funny little preamble to it, talking about the original developer of Shadow Hearts Covenant, talking about how he hasn't had a good idea in years, and there's a bit of back and forth with the developer of Wild Arms as well. But I'm going to try to skip ahead. Kickstarter's not too great at buffering things. So this will be Armed Fantasia, which is meant to be a follow-up spiritual successor to the Wild Arms JRPG series, which, if you're not familiar with, is a kind of futuristic Western punk thing, right? So it's set pretty much the Wild West, but also it's in the future kind of thing. Penny Blood this is what they're showing here now, is meant to be a spiritual successor to the Shadow Hearts series. So the Shadow Hearts would have been noir 1920s Lovecraft kind of stuff, like cosmic monsters from beyond the stars kind of thing, all taking place in a sort of gothic London, Victorian kind of setting to it. They both look really, really nice, and for very different reasons. Obviously, Arm Fantasia is very colorful, very bright, whereas Penny Blood is very dark, and so on. I do like the idea of having a kind of Constantine jRPG. That was kind of the vibe I got from Penny Blood, and Arm Fantasia just looks very pretty, and I would like to play it. But anyway, the Kickstarter is now live. It's already funded. It was only 750,000, I think, is what they were going for in dollars, or maybe something else. They've easily eclipsed that now, so they've gone past their initial goals. $750,000 just to make the game, $1 million to boot console versions, and they've got more down the line. There's more information there. Just pointing it out, I highlighted it last week as a Kickstarter that I was interested in. It's now live, and at this point, it's not a case that the project won't get funded. It's almost certainly going to get funded at this point, so you'd be, just jumping on the bandwagon at this juncture. Another game that was announced for Kickstarter this week that looked really interesting hasn't reached its target just yet, but it is pretty much all the way there already after only 4 days, I think it's been going. So Hollow Body is think of it as like a modern take on the Silent Hill series of survival horror games. So the gist of it is you are this underground illicit kind of career between different futuristic outposts, different cyberpunk cities, and it takes you through the badlands of the old country, of old London, I think it's what it's meant to be. And for whatever reason, your mouse pointer won't go away. I'm just going to put it over there. For whatever reason, your ship loses power, drops out of the sky, and you are stranded in the ruins of old London, which would be modern day for us, I guess. Some things have been happening. Some horrible monsters are out there as well, and there's some psychological horror as well on top of it. But you can definitely see the Silent Hill aspect just in the UI, in how the whole world looks and whatever. The developer behind this is solo dev, so they do everything. They do the programming, the art direction, sound design, all of that. It's all done by themselves. They have 2 other games. One of them I've played before called Guard Duty, which presents itself as a fairly colorful point-and-click adventure, but underneath it, there's definitely a kind of simmering horror element to it, and it kind of just really runs with it by the time you get to the end of the game. It's just very uncomfortable. But I really liked Guard Duty, even if the puzzles were a bit galaxy brain in some cases. And their other game, Chasing Static, I haven't played myself, but I have heard good things about it. It's a first-person horror walking sim kind of thing. It's similar enough that it looks like you're in a kind of first-person ruined suburb and trying to hunt down something, Chasing Static in that case. I'll probably try to get around to play it myself at some point, but it is PC only for now, and I am on a potato, so I guess we'll see. Anyway, that's Hollow Body. So, disclosure, I've backed both of these games. Would really be nice if they both come out. That's obviously your decision what you want to do with your money, but I thought I would just highlight them and let you know about them. Free Epic Games this week. So first up is Shadow of the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is probably the second best one out of the reboot trilogy, in my opinion. The first one is my favorite out of them. Then Shadow, and then Rise of the Tomb Raider. I didn't like Rise of the Tomb Raider at all. But Shadow of the Tomb Raider is a decent game, 4.7 out of 5. That's pretty good, and free on Epic Games. Give it a shot. Why not? It's free, and if you have a PC that can run it, good for you. And the other, because there were 2 free games, and then there's Submerged Hidden Depths that doesn't have a trailer. Don't know much about this game. It's boat, climb, interact, and explore in the beautiful ruins of a sunken world. Boat is not a verb, but okay. So it sounds like it's a chill adventure exploration type thing. Maybe there's some survival elements to it, but it doesn't seem like it. Submerged Hidden Depths is a non-combat third-person relaxploration, yeah. So it's a chill, fun time, just poke around an environment kind of thing. It'd be nice again, free. can't really argue with free. Anyway, those were our updates for this week. It is the start of a new month-ish, and that means monthly games being announced. So first up, PlayStation Plus Essentials, their monthly games. So what was previously just the PlayStation Plus free games are now broken up into PlayStation Plus Essential, Extra, and Premium. So Essential being the lowest tier, you still get X number of free games a month. This month, you're going to be getting Need for Speed Heat for the PS4. Need for Speed, it's a racing game. It's an arcade racing game. It has this kind of dichotomy, I guess. You have during the day, you have races that are, pretty standard, what you might expect from an arcade racer. Laps, timers, first place, etc. The opposite side of it, the heat part, is the nighttime races, which are illegal street races, and you'll also have to deal with, underhanded tactics and the police getting involved. And for whatever reason, and it's probably not surprising, but the city that this is set in, they've decided that all of the police need to have Lamborghinis. Who knows why? I guess to catch up with all these illegal street racing. Anyway, then there's Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. So Grand Blue Fantasy was a pretty big RPG series. I think it was an MMO, and I'm not entirely sure. I never got into it myself, so I don't know the gist of the game personally. But Grand Blue Fantasy Versus takes those characters and puts them in a fighting game instead. So it is a anime fighting game, so something like Guilty Gear that would have come out recently, DNF Duel that would have come out recently, Dragon Ball, that kind of thing. So very pretty, very impressive graphically. How well it plays, I'm not really into fighting games, so don't know. I couldn't say on that element, but hey, it's free, so you could try it out for yourself. And Toem is a monochromatic photography adventure game. So the idea is it's done from an isometric point of view, so top-down Diablo style. You are walking around as this kind of sheep-looking character, taking photographs, and some of the adventure elements, quest elements are, I need you to take a photograph of this particular scenario, you need to set it up, or I'm being harassed by seagulls, can you get rid of them somehow? They don't like the flash of your camera kind of thing. It's very much a chill, take your time, have fun, chatting with the different characters and stuff like that. Toem has actually been something I've been wanting to play for a while, so I will definitely give that one a look. Since PlayStation Plus has been split up into its different tiers, so there are different games involved in the different tiers. So on top of the Essentials tier, there is PlayStation Plus Extra. So for the PlayStation Plus Extra games, there are Deathloop, the latest game from Arcane, the guys behind Prey, Dishonored, etc. Deathloop is a kind of roguelike Dishonored kind of thing, or a roguelike first-person Hitman, I suppose is another way to do it. It's a big playground area for you to play in. You have to kill 7, I think, specific targets all in one loop. You won't be able to do it all in one go your first time. You'll need to figure out their schedule, figure out their weaknesses, where you can get to them, where, hey, maybe some of them group up at a time. Maybe they have a meeting. It might be easier to take them out then. Take them out one at a time. Do you do it stealthily? Do you do it non? Do you do it loud? That kind of thing. It's an interesting setup. I haven't played it myself, so I don't know how well it panned out. Assassin's Creed Origins was the beginning of Assassin's Creed change into the kind of open world map porn that Ubisoft have kind of gone off into in the last couple of years. So it's not really this kind of linear mission-based game that the Assassin's Creed used to be. It's a much more open, almost Skyrim-ish take on Assassin's Creed. This was the first attempt at it. It's probably the weakest attempt at it, but again, they were just finding their footing. This would have been followed up then by Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is taking on Greek myth, and then Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is taking on Norse myth. And I think it's widely considered Valhalla is the best approach to it. I haven't played Valhalla. I've played the other two, but I got burned out on the Assassin's Creed series. Watch Dogs 2 is Watch Dogs 1, but fun. Watch Dogs 1 was very somber, and there wasn't a whole lot of fun to it. Watch Dogs 2 kind of take the same idea of being able to hack things with your phone, even though that would not be possible, but okay. And just having fun in a like big open city kind of thing. It doesn't take itself very seriously, whereas the original Watch Dogs very much did. Dragon Ball Xenoverse, is that the fighting game or is it the RPG game? I think it's the RPG one. Don't know. I honestly can't tell. Spiritfarer, the Farewell Edition. Spiritfarer is think Stardew Valley, but you're on a boat, and all of the people of your village or of your boat are dead, and it's your job to ferry their spirits, Spiritfarer, to the other side. But they're not ready to go yet, so you need to help them come to terms with whatever it is that's holding them back. And that is usually the case of growing food and collecting things for them, building different things on your boat, taking them to different locations, etc., etc. It's, again, a very chill management kind of sim with a very pretty art style. And the Farewell Edition adds all the DLC that came out from the game post-launch. Chicory: A Colorful Tale is an excellent Zelda game. I don't think it really bills itself as a Zelda game, but it's very much a Zelda game. It's the old Zeldas, overworld, top down, dropping off into different dungeons. The conceit for Chicory is the game is primarily presented as black and white, and you have this paintbrush that can just color things, and you use that to perform different puzzles, different elements, things like that. You can draw bridges with it. You can interact with different elements by drawing on them, and you can just straight up just freestyle paint all over the thing as well if you want. It's very well written. I really like the story, and it might end up on the channel at some point. I don't know yet, but it might. Monster Hunter Energy. Wow, I would drink that, all right. Monster Energy Supercross, whatever, motorbike game. I'm sure you know what that is. Alex Kidd in Miracle World. I think it's like the Wonder Kid games, so it's a side-scrolling platformer thing. It's free. Why not? Rabbids, whatever. Rayman. Rayman Legends is actually very good. It's a pretty hard 2D platformer game, but it's a pretty decent game. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. The game is kind of an old-school street brawler, so Final Fight, Streets of Rage, that kind of thing, but with the Scott Pilgrim IP. So if you're into Scott Pilgrim and you like brawlers, this is probably the perfect game for you, really. And then after that, they couldn't even give it the service of having actual artwork for the PlayStation Plus Premium. So remember, this is the package that you would pay the most for, right? It's like the top level of the PlayStation Plus tiering thing. So you would think this would get the best shit, right? It doesn't. It gets lip service at best. So Siphon Filter 2, PS1 game that's been recoded so that it'll run on PS4. Siphon Filter was always a very clunky Metal Gear Solid to me. Metal Gear Solid was always the better game. The Sly Collection, sure, those are good games. The Sly Collection is a HD remastering of the original Sly Cooper trilogy. Why they couldn't get the Sly Cooper trilogy itself, for the PS2, PS1, PS2, that would have been nice. But no, it's the PS3 version, which is streaming only for now. You can't download you can't play PS3 games locally yet. Maybe ever. I don't know. They don't seem too intent on fixing that. Thieves in Time, I think, was like a mini-game collection of the Sly Cooper games. I'm not too sure about that. Was it a fourth game? I don't know. No, Bentley's Hack Pack was the mini-game companion thing. Thieves in Time must have been a separate game then. I don't remember it. Toy Story 3 for the PSP. Wow, they're breaking out all the stops. Not Dino Crisis, not Silent Hill, not Metal Gear Solid, not Soul Reaver. Toy Story 3. Thanks, guys. Kingdom of Paradise. I think I played this. It's like a pretty bog standard action RPG. It has a kind of Chinese myth presentation on it, but it's not great, honestly. But yeah, once again, at least there actually is games on the PlayStation Plus Premium tier this month, but they're not amazing. They're not gonna, they're not having people rushing out to push up their tier anytime soon. Like, right now, it still seems like the extra tier is the better one than the premium tier. So what's the point? Anyway, games with gold. So games with gold this month. This is the last time you'll be seeing Xbox and Xbox 360 games. On games with gold from now on, it's just going to be Xbox One games. So first up is Gods Will Fall. Gods Will Fall is a isometric action RPG kind of thing. So again, like Diablo, top-down fantasy role-playing thing. It's meant to be a kind of roguelike in that you are washed up on shore, 8 of your clansmen, and the idea is you're going to take down all the gods because you're sick of their shit and you just want them gone. And the idea is you build up your characters as you go. They get different weapons, they get different stat boosts, things like that. They can also be debilitated by the gods if, for say, they had a relationship with another clan member and that clan member dies or is captured. If you die inside one of the dungeons, that character gets locked in. So it's a bit Crystal Maze kind of thing, that they failed. They failed to complete that dungeon, so they get stuck in there. And if that's a particularly good character, you know, you had spent time bulking them up, you're kind of fucked, really. So the idea is you try to do it all in one go, but you get better as you do it. And the thing is, when I played Gods Will Fall, I did finish it on my first run. That's not great for a roguelike. You know, it's not great for your roguelike game where the whole thing is that you're meant to be getting better over time and for you to manage to finish it in one go. Like, I wasn't trying to do that, and I don't consider myself super mega gamer or anything, so that's not great. Double Kick Heroes, I have no idea what that is. I guess it's a racing game? That's what it sounds like. Pure power of metal compels you to travel the post-apocalyptic freeways, battling zombies and militia in your tricked-out Cadillac, the Gundalac. It's a shoot-'em-up rhythm game. Okay, interesting concept. Thrillville is back again because I think it's been on Games with Gold like not even that long ago, but it's theme park idea. And just you build your own amusement park kind of thing. And then Portal 2, which is excellent, but I think has been free on so many different platforms that if you don't have it by now, like, what have you been doing? But yeah, Portal 2, extremely well written, very funny, excellent puzzle game. And it has co-op for some elements as well if you want to play with a friend. So yeah, definitely check that out. Game Pass, which is absolutely kicking both Games with Gold's ass and PlayStation Plus's ass. But for September, Grid Legends racing game. It's a bit more of a sim than like an arcade type thing. Disney Dreamlight Valley, putting this on Game Pass is a bit misleading because Disney Dreamlight Valley is going to be free. It's going to be free to play game. But Disney Dreamlight Valley, if you haven't heard of it, is going to be farming Animal Crossing Stardew Valley thing, but with Disney IP, like the Disney characters. It's going to be free to play, and I imagine that the pay part of it will be like you pay for, I would imagine, loot crate stuff, maybe gacha things for different characters and that kind of thing, different skins maybe. Train Sim World 3 sure sounds like a train sim game, so sure, that makes sense. You Suck at Parking is a pretty funny, stupid physics puzzle game where you're trying to park your car, but your car does not behave properly, and, you know, shenanigans. The Outer Wilds patch for the Xbox Series, etc. So the Outer Wilds is a fairly old game at this point. It is a pretty open-ended puzzle game that has a bit of a Majora's Mask to it in that the game resets after a while, and you don't necessarily start all over again. You retain the knowledge that you have from the last game, from the last run, we'll say, the last loop, and you're trying to figure out why your solar system just blows up in like 10 hours or something, and you have that length of time, I think, to try to figure out what the hell's going on. Beacon Pines, don't know what that is. It sounds like an adventure game. Slime Rancher 2 is a first-person farming sim thing, but with slimes. So like the jRPG slime characters. It's like that kind of thing. Grounded 1.0. Grounded is a big thing Obsidian have been working on for a good while. It is Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So it's like kind of 80s kids all get shrunk down to the size of insects, and they're out in the garden and they're trying to get home. So they're trying to get big again and get back inside before they get devoured by terrifying spiders. Good shit. But it's been in not early access exactly, because I don't think they call it that on Xbox, but the same kind of deal. I don't know, maybe they do call it early access. But yeah, it's done. 1.0 is finished, so it should be stable and all that, and all the things they wanted to have in it for its first release should all be there now. Moon Scars is a kind of Castlevania type game. It looks very pretty, and I'm very annoyed that it is Xbox and PC only for now, because I really, really want to play it. But that is your monthly games coming soon enough, not quite right now. But if you did want to play something right now, what could you play? Well, if you own a PC or an Xbox, you could play Immortality, which is the next game from Sam Barlow, I think is his name. He's the guy behind Telling Lies and Her Story. So it's an FMV puzzle game. You are given like a kind of thesis idea. So for Immortality, it is this actress has disappeared, like off the face of the earth kind of thing. And her movies have all been deleted. They've been lost. All you have is archival footage from like her audition, behind the scenes stuff, like stage plays she did. And you're trying to figure out what the fuck happened. Where did she go? Which is similar enough to things like Her Story, where it is you are given police interrogation tapes from this woman, all different interviews she's had with the police, and you're trying to piece together what actually happened in the case. And Telling Lies is there's this FBI agent who went undercover with like Greenpeace, effectively. They're not called Greenpeace for obvious reasons, but is effectively Greenpeace. And something happened, a big terrorist incident that was involving them, and they're like, why didn't we know about this? What happened? Where's the agent now? That's your job. Figure that part out. And Immortality is going to be the same kind of thing. It's like, what happened to her? You know, what's the deal? They are very good. They are very good puzzle games, and I really enjoy them. And again, once again, annoyed that it is PC and Xbox exclusive at the moment. Ooblets. Ooblets has been coming out for, it seems, 4,000 years at this point. But it might finally be out now, Ooblets 1.0. So Ooblets started off as a Stardew Valley cross Pokemon game. So the Ooblets would be the Pokemon in this sense. You're in a like nice, colorful, friendly, calm environment, you know, just going about your day, building friendships with people, making, planting crops, taking care of them. And it grew and grew and grew and became this big thing. It was going to be also have this kind of combat game with the Ooblets, but they felt that it didn't really go with the kind of chill vibe that they were going for. So instead of having Pokemon battles with your Ooblets, you instead have dance-offs with them. So you still have this kind of adversarial matchup kind of thing happening, but it's not, brutally violent or something like that, which is not what they were going for. And the Ooblets are fun, little colorful guys. They have different variants. There are shiny Ooblets and so on. And then outside of that, there are like customization things you can do with your own character. All the different crops you can make. All the different areas you can visit, different people you can talk to, quests that they give you, building up friendships and getting better at dance battles and stuff like that. It's been in development for a very long time, and I am very curious to see how well it's turned out, basically. So that is actually on something is actually on a platform I can play it on, so that's good. It's on Switch, and I believe it's coming to PC as well. Okay. Well, that's the fun part. That's the fun part of the video. Unfortunately, though, it is now time to talk about the worst part of video games, the video game industry. So, this was fairly early in the week. Developer behind the game Brock, which is a crocodile adventure platformy type thing, was highlighting the whole deal behind Steam's Curator system. So if you haven't been on the Steam store in a very long time, Valve added this Curator system where you could curate this collection of games and say, like, here's a game I like, here's another game I like, here's a game I don't like, etc. And it would bundle them all together under this guy's curated game thing. And for a while, it was a pretty interesting thing because you would have big game personalities would have their own curated list, or game outlets would have their own curated list. And then Valve forgot about it. Like they do. Like they tend to do about a lot of things. And, you know, it didn't get used for very much, and when that kind of thing happens, it gets taken over by scammers. So that's what's happened here. Indie developers come to believe that the system is being used by scammers who also sell game codes on the grey market. So the grey market's being, you get a game code, and instead of using that game code, you sell it on to somebody else for cheaper, presumably, or more expensive. Or you get, you con a developer out of a code. You know, you pretend that, hey, I'm a cool super influencer guy. Give me a code and I'll play it on my channel and you'll get lots of sales. And instead they don't. They just sell the code on. That's kind of what they're going with here. And they did a sort of pseudo sting operation. So Cowcat explained that the game was being targeted by some Steam curators with suspicious negative reviews. Many of these curators only had one negative review out of all of the games that they had reviewed, and it was this game, their game in particular. Many of these creators had initially posted positive reviews of this game, only to then subsequently change it and make it a negative review. Cowcat, the developer behind Brock, suggests that this is because they weren't given Steam keys, or they fell foul of this kind of sting operation that Cowcat did, which was, instead of sending them Steam keys for the full game, they instead sent them Steam keys for the demo. And the idea being that if they really wanted to play the game, like if they were really on the level, hey, I'm a reviewer for this outlet, hey, I'm a content creator for this YouTube channel, hey, I am a Twitch streamer or whatever, that they would come back and say, hey, you gave me the one for the demo by mistake, could you fix that? And be like, yeah, sure, we'll fix that for you, sorry. Or they don't do that because they had no intention of playing the game and they instead sold it on. The people they sold it on to are like, what the fuck, you sold me the demo key, give me my money back. And they're like, I don't want to give you my money back because that's not how it works. I'm a scam guy. I don't do that. I don't give money back. So they figure that's where the negative reviews came from. And they've been weeding them out in that sense. Should be noted that any curator can review any game on Steam, even if they don't own it or have never played it. That's a bit of a... I know Valve have forgotten about the curator thing, but maybe you should fix that part of it, making it even easier for people to use the old, barely updated system for fraud. So yeah, there's nothing stopping people from just scamming all the way through that curator system. So much so that Steam bans scammers after Dev reveals shady game reselling. So after the dev behind Brock and a bunch of other developers also came out to say the same thing. Hey Garner Landy, how's it going? Afternoon to you. So after Cowcat came out to say, hey, curators are scamming the shit out of us, 11-Bit Studios, the guys behind Frostpunk, also announced that they're just straight up not giving keys to curators anymore, just because of all this shit. They're tired of putting up with it. Valve has shut down some of the curators implicated in the supposed scams, so, you know, it hit Valve's bottom line, so they're like, okay, like, we'll step in, we'll remember we did this thing and actually fix it. Cowcat reached out to Valve and actually did hear back from them, which is a big shock, which explained that it would look into the curators in question, and the whole thing of using negative reviews as punishment for not providing keys, which we went over with Cowcat. Can you post a link to that article? Sure. Hopefully it doesn't get gobbled up by my mod. It might. Anyway, if you're watching this on VODs, the links will be in the description in the paste bin. So yeah, they've been using negative reviews. The group has been this group has been removed for violating the Steam community rules and guidelines, which is a message that will come up if you click on a curator now at that point. So yeah, it's only like a handful of curators that got caught up with it, and the thing is, it is extremely easy to make a Steam account. You know, just auto-gen yourself an email and you're in. You know, it doesn't take much. From the Frostpunk guys, who have just said straight up, we're just not going to give keys to curators anymore. Based on our and other devs' experiences, most of the Steam curator requests come from fake accounts used to gather and resell the keys, and the published reviews don't seem to bring any value to the community anyway. So they're like, we're not going to engage with this entire system that you built and forgot about and did nothing to moderate. So fuck you, basically. Okay, back to Activision, because we've got to shit on Activision at some point. I feel like we haven't done it in a while, so I need to do it now. UK's competition regulator to undertake in-depth investigation of Microsoft Activision deal. So this is the UK's huge overreaction, put a little effort into community management. The Curator system is largely not up to the developers to deal with. The Curator system is an entirely independent thing. I just arrived in time for the Bobby Bulletin, exactly. The Curator thing is entirely under Valve's control, and they do nothing to verify any of those curators. They're allowing you to review games that you don't even have to own. They don't even have to be in your library. Like, it's not great, and it's kind of been going on for a long time. Like, the grey market for PC keys in particular is, you know, rampant with this kind of thing. It is quite lucrative for those involved in it. I don't see it going away anytime soon, but anything they can do to close it off would be nice. So the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, which would be similar to like the FTC in the US, have made the decision that the deal requires a more in-depth Phase 2 investigation. They've determined that the deal would give rise to a realistic prospect of a substantial lessening of competition in gaming consoles, multi-game subscription services, and cloud gaming services. So they're not happy with the Microsoft taking such a big chunk out of competition. With Call of Duty in particular is pointed out as like a big deal, but it's also in that they're making a huge land grab for game subscription services that are kind of in their infancy at the moment. Microsoft are going to position themselves as like the de facto top dog of that before anybody even gets a chance to work on it. And then the cloud gaming services, of course, is that Microsoft has its own Microsoft Azure cloud thing. So, you know, they're definitely positioned to be pretty much insurmountable in that aspect. So, like, I still see this as a kind of rubber stamping thing. They're just gonna push it to Phase 2, but I feel like it's gonna go through regardless. Evidence consistently pointed towards ABK, Activision Blizzard King's content, especially Call of Duty, as being important and capable of making a material difference to the success of rivals gaming platforms. Now, I would suggest that while that is true, Call of Duty does command, I would say, an unearned sizable portion of, we'll say, gamers. You know, a lot of people will gravitate towards, I want to play Call of Duty with my friends. Where do my friends play Call of Duty? They play it on Xbox. It's become an Xbox exclusive. I'm going to buy an Xbox, you know, etc. So they do have a point. I would also point out, though, that it's not healthy for the video game industry to be so dependent on a single IP. There's something wrong there. You're not doing a good enough job diversifying it if everyone is gravitating towards this one IP. Not unlike Marvel at the moment. ABK invests significant time and capital in creating regular Call of Duty releases, which consistently rank as some of the most popular games. Not the best games, we'll point out, just the most popular ones. These titles require thousands of game developers and several years to complete, and there are very few other games of similar caliber or popularity. There's a backhanded way to look at that, and that, whatever, and the lowest common denominator stuff. I would certainly agree there are very few other games that command the same level of popularity for the IP in general. Now, its latest iterations, sure, some games have supplanted it, but I would think Call of Duty as a brand commands a considerable amount of popularity over, we'll say, like Elden Ring obviously did very well this year, but it wouldn't have the same level of command for money. Call of Duty and FIFA are always the black holes of their years. Yeah, as Garner points out, FIFA, particularly in the UK, is always top of the charts. Always. Whenever it comes out. No matter how shit it is when it comes out. Whether that will continue now that they've lost the license for it? Maybe not. The CMA also points to Microsoft's Activision of Bethesda parent company ZeniMax that will further cement the land grab that Game Pass is, to kind of get out ahead of everybody and just carve out, take a big armful of all the games they can and lock them behind Game Pass. Is kind of what the CMA is pointing out. It's probably not good. Where it made future game releases from those studios exclusive to consoles in Xbox. So this is Starfield is exclusive to Xbox. Elder Scrolls 6 is exclusive to Xbox. Whatever Obsidian are working on next is exclusive to Xbox. Penitent, I think, is what's coming out. the next Senwa game exclusive to Xbox, and so on. Not just UK, pretty global. This is for FIFA. It'd be interesting to see what happens with EA's football games going forward, exactly. And they give up the license because they believe they are bigger than FIFA now. No, they weren't exactly forced to give up the license. FIFA wanted double the amount of money that they were being given for the license. And EA were like, fuck that. That'll just wipe out all the money we get out of foot coins or whatever. So they went, no, basically. EA are also not doing great financially. They have been looking for like acquisition. You know, they have been shopping themselves around rather, to be acquired, because I don't think they're doing too great financially. A lot of their more recent games have not performed particularly well. Battlefield, in particular, did not perform pretty well for them. So I don't think they could afford it, is the issue. And FIFA were also looking to break the exclusivity thing. Like, they wanted the license to go to other places as well. They wanted to have mobile games. And so on. EA weren't willing to do that either. So, yeah, they made that chance. As the multi-game subscription market is still in its infancy, the effect of the merger between Microsoft and Activision could be to significantly increase concentration in the market in Microsoft's favor before future rivals have had a chance to develop. There's a bit of antitrust kind of stuff there as well. The idea that they will squash that market before it ever gets a chance to get going. So Microsoft came back to say, we're ready to work with the CMA on next steps and address any of its concerns. Sony, as the industry leader, say it's worried about Call of Duty, but we've said we are committed to making the same game available on the same day on both Xbox and PlayStation for now. We want people to have more access to our games, not less. We want people to have more access to our games, not less, and we're going to do that by making them exclusive to our platform. One of these isn't correct. You know? Unless he wants to say, we want people to have more access to games by putting them all on Xbox and having them all buy Xboxes. That's what he really means. Anyway, this thing of focusing on Call of Duty is actually not going to work really in Sony's favor or the CMA's favor if they do want to discredit the merger, because all Xbox has to do is say, okay, Call of Duty is not exclusive. We're going to keep all these other games exclusive, but yeah, sure, you can have Call of Duty, whatever. It's on the wane anyway. We'll make something else. So it's not a great idea to focus on IMO. It's not a great idea to focus on just the one game. Okay. Moving on. So PQube, we talked about them last week, where they were, they petitioned a well-known platform in the video game space, which I think is mostly considered to be Sony, but they were never named, so we don't know, but it was probably Sony, to get a grant to facilitate developers from minority development countries. So countries you wouldn't typically see games from, pretty much. So Indonesia, it was the case last week. They've been under fire once again from another company who said they perform similar shenanigans. So I'm going to skip past the update for now. We'll come back to the update in a second. So PQube is under fire once again. Corcel, a Thai developer behind Eternal Blade 2 and presumably Eternal Blade 1, has released a damning statement against the publisher to help other indie game developers to avoid what has happened to us and inform our fans about our situation. I skipped the Bobby comment, as Bobby said, I don't think there'll be... It was very much a corporate speak of things are going as we assumed they would go. Whether they're actually going as he assumes they go or not, I don't know. It's not like he's going to say, oh no, the CMA are after us, because it would spook all the shareholders, so... Fuck Bobby, basically. So PQube only paid a small part of the minimum guarantee of the signing milestone by the time we sent them the game, and they never paid the remaining milestone. So they only paid enough to when the game came out, and then they stopped paying the rest of the guarantee. PQube has refused to return the publishing control on the console platform, so PQube are continuing to gain any revenue from any sales of their game. That's what I wanted. Thank you. Fuck Bobby. Absolutely fuck Bobby. Or don't fuck Bobby. Whatever way you want to look at it. Either way, eat shit. PQube has refused to return publishing control on the console platform, so essentially, Corsair are getting no money from any sales that are going on PlayStation, Switch, Xbox for Eternal Blade 2. PQube offered to hand over publishing control to us only if we agreed to keep this matter secret, but we no longer wanted to be involved in any more deals with PQube. Understandable, really. That's their Twitter response. They also said to Toge Productions, who were talking about PQube last week, they said to them, "You are not alone in this issue with PQube." So PQube did come back, and there's a bit of legalese, but there's also this is a bit of a both sides issue here. We were pleased to work again with Corsair on Eternal Blade 2, and despite delays and quality issues, we endeavored to release the game on October 2019 as they requested. We were going to provide milestone payments and agreed with Corsair that they would provide critical fixes to the game to shore up its quality. These fixes never materialized. Now, you could say from Corsair's point of view is you didn't fucking pay us, so we can't pay our devs to actually make those fixes. You know, make the fixes for us and then we'll pay you. No, pay us, then we can make the fixes. You know, which way do you go with it? And they also claimed that while they were going to give back publishing agreements, but they wanted a guarantee about these improvements in quality. But Corsair then proceeded to list and then release the PC version itself without further discussion with PQube. So again, Corsair just published the game on their own against the contract agreement they would have had with PQube for the PC. Again, you can also point out as you kind of left us no choice because we're not making any money from the game because you have all the console rights. Again, it's like both of them are correct is the problem. So who's in the wrong here? PQube claims it has released its rights to the console versions back to Corsair well before the end of the agreement. From Corsair's point of view, they reached out to platform holders, and Sony and Nintendo both shut down sales of the game in Europe. So, again, did they give the rights back, or were they just prevented from selling the game anymore? Don't know. I don't really know who's in the wrong here. It does sound like two independent developers are coming out specifically to talk about PQube, and PQube is very much on the defensive here, so, you know, you could read it in that they're in the wrong, but who knows. Okay, some acquisition news. Savage Game Studios have been purchased by Sony, or Sony PlayStation. So Savage Game Studios are probably best known for their mobile games output, mostly kind of live service stuff. There's a bit of a corporate, hey, I can't wait to be working with PlayStation, and also subtly not saying the quiet part, which is thanks very much for all that money too. Savage Game Studios is joining a newly created PlayStation Studios mobile division, which will allegedly operate independently of the console development and focus on innovative on-the-go experiences based on new and existing PlayStation IP. What new IP exactly? How generous are we being with the new term here? Are we going to get A Last of Us Remastered Part 1 on mobile as well? And apparently Savage Game Studios have been already put to work, and they're already working on a new unannounced AAA mobile live service action game. Oh my god. It was so many words. So many horrible words all in one go. 502 Bad Gateway. Yeah, no. I don't know what that's about. No, I think it is... Actually, I do know what the story is, but whatever. Yeah, it looks like the next one didn't load properly or the link is broken. Anyway, yeah, having an unannounced AAA mobile live service action game. Gross. Gross. Anyway, 502 Bad Gateway. Why didn't you want me to? Okay, it's okay with it now. Whatever didn't load up the first time. NetEase has acquired Quantic Dream for an undisclosed sum of money. So NetEase are a Chinese publisher, mostly around mobile titles, and this would be their first foray into the West, into the Western developers. So China-based publisher NetEase has acquired French developer Quantic Dream for an undisclosed sum. The studio will operate independently and continue to be led by David Cage and Guillaume the Shithead. Great. So that's more, yeah, just continue what we're doing, but we're going to take some money instead, basically. NetEase have previously had a minority stake in the company and have now instead to increase that to all of it. We're just going to take all of the stake instead. This would make Quantic Dream NetEase's first studio in Europe. So Quantic Dream has its own toxic workplace sexual harassment issues, not unlike a lot of big developers, it would seem. And not just in video games sphere. It's branched that out to any company that is too big to have a too small HR company. But so Quantic Dream, if you aren't familiar, they're the people behind Heavy Rain, behind Detroit, RoboCop, Become Human, Battalion, and next Star Wars Eclipse, which I was all for until I heard they were attached to, and I was like, well, shit. So addressing their toxic workplace thing, Quantic Dream did sue a bunch of publications for like slander, not slander, libel, because it was written. And they won one case for libel, but they also lost one case for libel. So and I think they only won one of them on a technicality. It wasn't that they really won against the libel. It was more that the manner in which it was submitted or something wasn't correct. Their CEO basically said that NetEase are fine with it. They're fine that we run our company correctly and there's no cause for any of these allegations to be considered true. NetEase were a shareholder and have already audited the studio as of 2018. One would argue that a lot can happen, particularly over COVID pandemic and so on, but whatever. Anyway, they seem happy enough to like buy the company outright, so I guess they're fine with allegations of bullying, sexual harassment, unfair dismissal, etc. Continuing, not necessarily acquisition, but sort of acquisition. So Tencent and Sony have increased their stake in FromSoft, or bought in some cases. I don't think Sony had a stake at all. I think they've bought into it now. So Tencent Holdings recently bought in Epic, so they would be making like quite a lot of money from the Epic Store and Fortnite in particular, as well as all of the other things. They have their fingers in a lot of pies, shall we say. And Sony have announced that they've acquired 30% of the Souls series developers' shares. So From Software are responsible for Elden Ring, Sekiro, Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, various mecha game that everyone forgets, a weird horror game that is extremely expensive on eBay. Sony and Tencent are acquiring 14 and 16% of FromSoft respectively. One of the aims is to give FromSoft the resources needed to grow Elden Ring into a franchise that extends beyond just video games. No. Don't. Stop. Don't do that. Leave it as a video game. I don't want to see Elden Ring as a shitty Netflix TV show. I don't want to see them take the name and nothing else and make some generic fantasy thing. Leave it as a game. Maybe make a comic. But other than that, the Bloodborne comic's actually pretty good. But other than that, no, stop. We don't need to go beyond video games. Leave it alone. There's another point here that article author Claire Jackson points out that Tencent have stakes in a lot of pretty big game developers and game companies. So it owns 5% of Ubisoft. It owns Riot Games. Straight up. It owns 40% of Epic Games. Okay, I thought it had more than that. And it has stakes in many, many other things. Buying Sprees, Life is Strange, Back 4 Blood developer, Spec Ops: The Line Studio, etc. They are big octopus, tentacles in lots of different game developers. No full acquisitions, but a lot of them. And again, Sony has also been acquiring different developers as well as Microsoft. There's the big concentration acquisition thing going on right now because of, and not to go with the whole capitalism bad thing, but the whole point of capitalism is that if you're not growing, you're dying. And if they can't grow through actual sales and stuff like that, then the other way to make it look like you're growing is to buy another company. So that's where these acquisitions are coming from. It's that they want to make shareholder number go up. So anyway. Smaller story, Prey director thought using the name was a mistake and that it was assigned by Bethesda. It was not their decision to do it. So this was kind of a small interview aside with the original creative director for the latest Prey. I did not want to call the game Prey. Our game had nothing to do with Prey, and I think calling it that was a sales mistake. Prey fans weren't happy, and the people who didn't like the original unrelated Prey didn't even look for this game. So yeah, kind of a mistake to just take the name of something and make something completely different. It's almost like it doesn't usually go over well, you know, like Resident Evil movies. Fucking nothing to do with the games. TV shows, nothing to do with the games. Just make your own thing. Give it a different name. Anyway, it was his point to say that he always wanted to say to the original developers that it was never our intention to steal their IP and make it ours. It's gross, and that's not what I wanted to do. So they don't always get a chance to, you know, they don't have full creative control over these kind of things. And a lot of the times it is dictated by marketing. Somewhat schadenfreude, I suppose, but Diablo Immortal players are being stripped of their third-party orbs, leading to huge deaths. Third-party orbs sounds like a euphemism for testicles, but okay. So the gist of it here is a bunch of Diablo Immortal's players is more correct, bought third-party orbs. The orbs are for like leveling up, powering up your character, that kind of shit. And they bought them off a grey market. How they got them, not entirely sure, but whatever. They bought them that for substantially less than what they would have had to pay for in-game. So in-game, it is $100 US for 7,200 orbs. Okay. But on these third-party sites, you could spend as little as $30 and get the same amount. Pairs is an accurate Freudian, absolutely. I didn't mean to say it, but it is more correct. But the issue is, Blizzard have stripped them of those orbs, so any orbs that they would have had are now gone. But not only on top of that, they are now in debt for the orbs that they would have, for the amount of money that they would have paid if they had bought them legit. And the issue is they cannot buy any more things on the store until they pay that debt. So they're effectively, their in-game wallet will say is negative whatever. It's like, wow, big fuck you to those guys. I've never heard of this kind of like Jeopardy way of doing in-game like wallets and stuff like that. All I've ever heard is you're banned or you're banned from multiplayer at the very least. Wow, that is shady shit, Blizzard. Absolutely. I've never heard of this, having you just be in arrears effectively in your free-to-play mobile game. Users have claimed that accounts that don't repay their orb debt after a certain period of time, so you also only have a certain period of time to do this, will be permanently disabled, and others are claiming that instead of receiving a debt, they're instantly being banned. Like, that would have been the typical one. Just go away. Fuck you. But this one of you have X amount of time to pay this debt, or we'll wipe your account, is incredible levels of blackmail. Just ban them for breach of service. Like that would have been the, as Garner said, just ban them. This is mean. This is incredible levels of mean. And it is effectively a ban anyway. Like, you wouldn't be able to play multiplayer while your account is in arrears, which is for the vast majority of the people who play Diablo Immortal. That's what they want. They want the PvP stuff. So this is extremely shady. But are we surprised? Are we surprised that it's Blizzard and Big Bobby Kotick doing this kind of stuff? No, we're not. Okay, Lockwood Publishing to lay off 15% of its workforce. So Lockwood Publishing are a mobile game publisher behind really alien-looking 3D people, basically. Bonus Bobby news. Yeah, I managed to get it in there again. But they are poised to lay off 15% of its staff, which is about 34 people. Now, the reason why this is a kind of a deal is 9 months ago, they were under fire from the Independent Workers' Union of Great Britain for doing this shit again. They laid off 33 people 9 months ago, and it was considered unlawful at the time. So unlawful dismissal of a sizable chunk of their workforce. The announcement of new layoffs was attributed to the need for cutting jobs due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. What does Russia's invasion of Ukraine have to do with publishing video games? Developing video games, okay, if you're actually based in Ukraine, yeah. But these are guys, these are not affected by it in any way. I was about to bounce. I had my Bobby fix. I managed to get the bonus segment in. All right, no worries, Garner. Thanks for dropping by. So yeah, what has this got to do with the war in Ukraine? Zero. It has zero to do with it. Absolutely nothing to do with it. This is them giving the most tangible reason, and the reason that a lot of other companies, not just video game developers, publishers, a lot of companies have been using the excuse to push up their prices, to cut their workforce, to reduce the quality of their items, and so on. And they're using the war in Ukraine as the reason behind it, when a lot of cases it has fuck all to do with them. But this is another example of it. An employee criticized this announcement, saying that if he really wanted to save money, he'd do the honorable thing and take a voluntary pay cut like a decent CEO would. Yeah, it's just thing is, the word decent and CEO don't typically go together. You're not a decent person and a CEO. It very rarely happens, except for that one time the Nintendo guy did it. But other than that, it's very rarely the case. So even with all these layoffs and needing to, cut costs and, we need to stay lean, etc., they had plenty of enough money during March of this year, right after they laid off a bunch of people. They were able to open a brand new office. With what money? The money they made from firing a bunch of people. Not a good look for you, Lockwood. Not a good look. Okay. So some dumb stuff. So these are some PlayStation trophy stats that I'm sure everyone is really happy to see. Everybody loves data, right? I love data. Anyway, presentation looking at PS4 and PS5 user behavior in the US, Europe, Japan, and the rest of Asia, particularly around trophy acquisition, basically. So if you're not familiar with trophies, they are effectively little mini achievements for playing games. You do something in a game, you'll get a little trophy for it. Like, beat Chapter 4, you get a trophy. Finish the game, you get a trophy. Kill 5 guys with a headshot or something, you get a trophy, etc. But there's some interesting data came out of it. So Japanese players tend to have a higher overall trophy completion rate per game, so they get more trophies in a game than mostly of every other country, suggesting they play a single title for a long time and earn lots of trophies in that game before moving on. So they play the shit out of one game, basically, until they get their fill of it. They're like, okay, I'm done. I move on to the next game. However, for platinum trophies, so the platinum trophy is you got every other trophy. Here's the trophy. It's a trophy for getting trophies, basically. And okay, I may be like throwing off the data here because I do like to do this kind of thing, but whatever. Players in Europe, that'd be me, and Asia, excluding Japan, are most likely to earn them, while players in the US are least likely to do so. You US guys, rookie fucking numbers, you gotta pump those platinum numbers up. So players in Europe are more likely to go for platinum trophies. Sorry, players in Europe and Asia, excluding Japan, are more likely to go for platinum trophies than players in Japan or US. When it comes to games that are considered the most difficult, Japan and the rest of Asia tend to get platinums far more frequently than their Western counterparts. So Western gamers or European gamers tend to go for easy platinums instead of hard platinums. Some shade being thrown here, some real shade. And there's more data, more data. Interestingly, not interestingly, but it kind of just points out, I suppose, is that Akiyama found that free-to-play games are played far more in Japan than any other region. That's why you see a lot of gashapon type games, Genshin Impact, Blue Archive, Arc Knights, that kind of thing. Why they're all coming out of Japan, and why they're so much better than all the other games, equivalent games that come out of Western development studios. US and Europe play online multiplayer games far more than any other region. So Japanese players want to play single player, free-to-play stuff, whereas Americans and some Europeans, not me. It's funny that I seem to fit more into the Japanese market than I do than any of the other ones, because I hate multiplayer. I can't say I like free-to-play all that much, although I kind of like the gashapon stuff. I just refuse to play it. And I don't go for easy platinums. I go for hard-ish. Maybe. Don't look at my trophy list. Shinji Mikami recently was talking about the over-the-shoulder camera from the original Resident Evil 4. Now, before this, for you younger baby gamers out there, you may have not known that over-the-shoulder cameras weren't always a thing. We didn't always have a camera that followed you around as you turned. That wasn't always a thing. Mostly because it was computationally very difficult to pull off. But talking about it and seeing how it was like groundbreaking, because practically every shooter after that used the same over-the-shoulder camera. The team simply decided that moving third-person over-the-shoulder camera would just work better. We weren't setting out to make some kind of crazy innovative thing. Later on, when they were at, I think they were showing off Lost Planet or something, the team behind Gears of War came up to them and they were like, wow, like, the Resident Evil 4 camera is really good. Why aren't you using it on Lost Planet? And they're like, because it's a... Capcom guys are like, it's a different game. We're using a different thing. They're like, why? It's so good. We used it in Gears of War. We absolutely ripped you off for it. Sakurai also came by. So this is the Super Smash Bros. Guy who also has his own YouTube channel talking about game development. And he came by to check out Resident Evil 4. And he came in and he was looking at... he came to check out the game in development and asked, who came up with this camera system? It's really good. He's like, yeah, that was me. This is great, he said. So they were like blown away. They were blown away that people were blown away by the camera system. And then there's a kind of funny aside later on here. And this is more talking about what Capcom originally wanted Resident Evil 7 to be before what it actually became. Is that Jun Takeuchi, producer from pretty much the entire Resident Evil series, revealed that Capcom originally wanted Resident Evil 7 to be a live service action game with online multiplayer and microtransactions. Oh my god. According to Takeuchi, Capcom was putting pressure on the development team to implement such features in the game until he was asked to join the project and he said, fuck that. He said, absolutely not. We went down the list, chopping them out until we had marketing's worst nightmare, a regular old single-player horror game. We cut out all this extra shit and just went, let's just make a Resident Evil game. Good for you, Takeuchi. Okay. All right, last one for the dumb stuff. Spider-Man Remastered on PC about 2 weeks ago now. So obviously, there's plenty of time for mods to have made their way in. And of course, there's a very funny Kermit the Frog has made his way into Spider-Man, beating the shit out of enemies, flinging himself around the place. It is very funny. The mod itself doesn't actually replace... This is very, like, unnecessary detail, but it doesn't actually replace Spider-Man in general. It replaces a costume. So he's effectively wearing a Kermit suit rather than it actually being Kermit. But I don't know how the anatomy would work any other way without him being Kermit the Frog, but okay. And then there's some... there's one where he changes outfit, yeets himself out the building, and goes through the whole opening section. And there's various other stupid Spider-Man mods that have been out there, but I did think the Kermit the Frog one was very funny. Okay, we'll leave Ooblets to loop. Okay, so that was our weekly news recap for the 29th of August to the 4th of September 2022. So, new Voice of Cards game. Like, they're churning those out pretty quick. Like, the last one was February, and then before that, September. So, you know, they're clearly made on a budget. Like, obviously, there's only one voice actor. It's the storyteller. And they have the card system and UI already built, so they're mostly just swapping out assets and maybe building a couple of new systems in. And that they're able to get these running. Like, what would probably have happened is they finished work on the Isle Dragon Roars, and then one team went on to do this one, the Beast of Burden, while another team would have already been working on Forsaken Maiden. That's how I would have done it if they had the resources. Don't know, it's made on a budget. Maybe they don't have the resources to have multiple teams like that. But anyway... lots of new games coming to monthly catalogs. Game Pass, PlayStation Plus catalog. PlayStation Plus catalog, still not entirely sure who it's for. Like, I guess it's for people who aren't as quick to pick up games as I am. If I'm interested in a game, I pretty much pick it up as it comes out. Like, yeah, it's probably a stupid way to do it. I'm probably dumb for spending way too much money, really, on brand new games and then not getting around to play them. I was only saying it to Melwin recently that I bought Super Mario Odyssey and I've still not played it. And I bought it with my Switch and I still haven't played the game. I do that. I do that kind of thing. And like the Game Pass and the game catalog should alleviate that kind of thing for me, but I just don't see it. And I do think Game Pass right now is the better option just because it gets, well, one, it has more games. And two, it gets new games like as they release. It's not like what Sony are having that we're like way behind with new games. The only one I've seen so far is Stray. That's the only game they've gotten that was brand new and came out and was released on PlayStation Plus as well. You know, the only other games they do that for are games that are already free to play. So I don't know what they're doing, basically. I don't know. They definitely need to rethink their strategy on whatever it is they plan to do with PlayStation Plus going forward. New releases, Immortality. I really need to get a non-potato PC at this point. There's enough games coming out on PC that I really want to play, and I'm not getting around to playing them. I'm waiting for them to come out on something I can actually play them on, and then it never happens. And I was like, there's too many games building up now for that kind of thing. PQube, the PQube Corcel Toge Productions, he said, she said kind of thing. I don't know, honestly. It does feel like PQube are in the wrong, and it's only because 3 independent developers came out to talk about them. So that's the only reason it kind of feels that way. Otherwise, I can kind of see how they're both sides kind of have a point. What else were we talking about? I don't know. It's gone past in a blur. The ridiculous putting Diablo Immortal players in arrears for the temerity to find a cheaper way to grind in their game. Like, it's already bad enough that you are monetizing a way to skip the shit part of your game that you intentionally designed to be shit so that people would pay to get out of it. And then punishing people for finding a cheaper way to do it is, yeah, they're not getting their cut, but you're also getting your cut of something that costs 0 for you to do. Like, they don't have to make anything. It's not like they have to design a skin or a sound effect or an emote or whatever. It's just a fucking number. Number go up, number go down. That's it. That's all that's required, and that code's already done. It's gross. It's gross. I really don't like it. Anyway, fuck Bobby. Right. What can we talk about now? Something. What we will do, actually, is have a look at what's coming up on the channel this week. So, here is how we are looking right now. Let me just make sure. Yes, okay, everything's good. Okay, so this week we finished Batman Arkham Asylum, so the story is now done, and we've 100%ed. I found all the Riddler trophies and such, all the collectibles, and we also found the secret room that took way too long to get. Like, you have to blow up a specific wall in a specific room, and it doesn't blow up on the first explosion. It blows up on like the 15th explosion or something stupid like that. Anyway, I was starting to think it had been patched out of the remastered version because we were playing the Return to Arkham version. I was starting to think, is it even in this version? And then finally, the wall blew up. Anyway, ridiculous. We didn't get to play Returnal. Returnal was postponed again, but that did mean that I got to play Midnight Fight Express and Rollerdrome this week. Both games, very good. Midnight Fight Express is like a modern take on the Street Brawler type, the Final Fight, Streets of Rage kind of thing. Very intricate combo system. And it's like very unapologetically 80s funny. It's very good. Rollerdrome, Tony Hawk's Pro Shooter, as I started calling it. It does take a while to get used to. And trying to juggle enemy fire, taking on enemies, keeping your ammo up, keeping your score up, keeping your multiplier up, being sure to do tricks all the time, etc. There's a lot of things you need to keep in mind. Which I liked at the beginning until it got very hard. I don't know if I'll keep going with it, because this is a very tricky game. And then we also continued Xenoblade Chronicles. Where is it? Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Continuing on with that, I think I'm halfway. I'm not sure. Anyway, we're moving along with that. And the council, I fucked up a puzzle and now our character is missing a hand. So hopefully that won't be a problem. Hopefully it was not his jerking hand, and he doesn't have to relearn muscle memory for the other hand. Hopefully that won't become a problem for him. Where is the council? There's. But what about next week? So we still have the intention to play Returnal. Myself and Melwin doing a co-op run for Returnal. Co-op was added to the game this year at some point. Melwin has never played the game before, so it'll be brand new to it. And I have, talking about that trophy data stuff, I have platinumed Returnal, and Returnal is a hard game. So fuck you. Fuck you, European gamers don't go for hard platinums. So yeah, I think it'll have like an interesting side-by-side thing of, I kind of know how to play the game, and I kind of know my own personal strategies that work-ish. I'm obviously going to be rusty. It's been a while since I've played the game. Versus Melwin's, I've never played the game, I'm learning everything for the first time thing. And hopefully that'll play off well, and hopefully we will have fun doing it. Don't know, we haven't committed to a full LP of it yet. The intention is to get all the way through the game. Or for me to carry Melvin all the way through the game, maybe. I don't know, he might end up being better at it than I am. That is the plan, but again, circumstances, etc. We may or may not do that. So that will be, if it happens, it'll be tomorrow, Wednesday. We'll be continuing the council. So as I said, our friend Louis is now missing his left hand because I misunderstood a puzzle. I don't know how I misunderstood it, but I did, evidently, because I'm missing a hand. And then the game was like, lol, I'm just going to solve the puzzle for you anyway. Anyway, whatever. We're continuing on with our mysterious circumstances. We now have the Spear of Longinus, and we are maybe going to kill a vampire with it. I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but whatever, we have it, and we are endeavoring to kill somebody with the spear. So that might be fun. We'll be doing that on Wednesday. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 streams left of the council. And Thursday. So Thursday, we need something to replace Arkham Asylum with. Now, I actually was fully planning on starting Bayonetta 2 and doing a full LP of Bayonetta 2. But as it got closer to the idea of me doing it, I just still feel pretty salty about the first LP. Like, it didn't feel great. Like, I enjoyed the game, I just didn't feel great LPing it, so I'm still thinking it's maybe a bit too soon for Bayonetta 2. So, well, instead we're going to look at Steel Rising instead. So this is the powdered wig automaton set in French Revolution maybe at some point. And yeah, it's a bit Bloodborne, it's a bit Dark Soulsy. We'll see how it plays out. Not planning a full LP or anything like that. Basically, I want to keep room for a Plague Tale Requiem, because I do want to do a full LP of that. And that is out mid-October at some point. So I don't want to commit to a full LP and then have to stop and start Plague Tale, because that was part of the reason why I don't think I enjoyed the Bayonetta Let's Play all that much, because I kept stopping it and starting it over again. So yeah, so the plan is basically between now and a Plague Tale Requiem, I will pretty much just be doing one-shots on Thursdays and Fridays. That's the plan. I might still come around to Bayonetta, but I don't think so. But I might. That's the idea. There are a shit ton of games coming out between now and then anyway, so it's not like I will be, struggling to find a game to play. If it's the case that I have both Thursday and Friday free, I might do a part 1 and part 2 for those games. In the case this week, it's not. I have D&D on Friday, so that won't be. It won't be. I might still do a part 2 for Steel Rising, because it's going to be that kind of game where it probably needs 1 or 2 streams to get the full gist of it. Saturday, though, we will be continuing the saga that is my attempt to finish Xenoblade 1, Xenoblade 2, and the Xenoblade 2 DLC, all before Xenoblade Chronicles 3 comes out, even though it has already come out. Just don't tell the part of my brain that still thinks it hasn't come out. Just don't wake it up, and I think we'll still be good. Continuing on with that, we are somewhere in the middle of Chapter 6. For anyone who's played the game before, okay, I don't want to, spoilers and whatever. We now have our full party. It has taken this amount of time for us to have access to the entire party of the game. We also have pretty much an entirely unique set of blades. So blades in this game are they're a bit Pokemon-ish kind of thing. You kind of collect them and they give your character different abilities and stuff like that. And we have all uniques at this point for everybody, so that's fun. And I am actually enjoying off stream playing this because I get to like dive into the combat a bit more than I do on stream, because on stream I'm more focused on getting the story done. Whereas when I'm off stream, I can do kind of the side content, I can play around with some of the other blades, and that kind of thing. So that's fun. I am enjoying that side of it. It's not something I would want to do on stream because I think it would be pretty boring to watch. It's fun for me to play. I don't think it would be very fun to watch personally. So I don't know. That's what I'm doing. But I am enjoying that. And it is nice to have a game to enjoy off stream, which I haven't had in a while now. Like, most of the games that I play on stream are the only games I play, and then I would only play them on stream as well. Depression is a bit shit like that. In that you don't feel up to playing it unless you're streaming it, and then I don't want to be streaming so many games at once, etc., etc. So anyway, not to be a downer about that kind of thing. But yeah, that's what we'll be doing. So let me go back to Steel Rising. We'll loop that. Anyway, that is the channel update for next week. So we will be hopefully co-op with myself and Melwyn for Returnal tomorrow evening. To make sure I have my save, so I have the 100% stuff. And I'll just check if Melwyn's done the tutorial and whatever. But yeah, the plan is 8 o'clock tomorrow. We'll do a couple of runs of Returnal. Tuesday, I have T&D. So Wednesday, the council will be continuing on with that. We're getting close to the end game now. Like, all the players are in position. We kind of know everyone's where everyone stands, etc. I think the court intrigue part has stopped, and now the murder plot is beginning pretty much. Thursday, Steel Rising, as you can see on the screen. This kind of French Revolution times Bloodborne kind of thing, but you're also a robot or something. Friday, D&D again. So there's one game I play in, one game I run. So they're not the same game. And Saturday is Xenoblade Chronicles 2, continuing on with that. And Sunday we'll be right back around to the weekly news recap and channel update for the week after. Okay. Right, I'm going to leave you guys to enjoy the rest of your Sunday, whatever much you have left of it. Thanks for dropping in, Garner and Automakai, and anyone who's hanging out in the chat. Or lurking in the chat, rather. If you want to, I don't know, see previous entries of the weekly news update, I don't know why you'd want to, but okay. You can find them on the archive channel, youtube.com/DoomTrain5. There's also all the archives and VODs from my other LPs, and plenty of edited LPs that I did before I joined Twitch are also over on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can find me on twitch.tv/DoomTrain5, and you can hang out in the chat and ask me questions and give me shit if you feel like it. You are more than welcome. You are more than welcome to give me shit. Anyway, I'm going to head off. Have a good one, everybody. And hopefully I will see you tomorrow for something. Have a good one.